The double-slit experiment, the dual nature of light, and Schrödinger's cat, these aren't just abstract thought experiments, they're puzzles that have long pushed physics to the brink of the absurd. But what if all these quantum paradoxes could be explained not by magic, but by a simple, underlying mechanical principle?
That's precisely what the manifesto of cyclic quantum cosmology proposes. It states that the moment we accept every entity in the universe is created by the geometric and binary interaction of strings and branes, the explanation for these major physical problems transforms into something incredibly simple to understand. Nature, it argues, isn't magic, it's a kinematic mechanism.
So, how does this model, which you've used to explain cosmic inflation and dark matter in previous discussions, reinterpret something as fundamental as the atom? Mainstream physics treats atoms or quarks as isolated material points. Does that concept hold up here?
No, it collapses entirely. In the infinitesimal dimensions of the brain, even a single atom or quark isn't isolated. It's an agglomerate composed of millions or billions of interconnected strings and branes. What we perceive as solid mass in the macrocosm is just the collective effect of billions of these microtensions and charges packed into the same lattice. Everything stems from the exact same binary pairing, strings and branes, which we can think of as vacuum and energy or hardware and software.
That's a radical shift. If everything is made of these strings and branes, then how does something as abstract as empty space relate to a wave, or a wave to a photon, and a photon to matter? It sounds like you're proposing an evolutionary scale of the string itself.
Exactly. Imagine a straight line. On this line, space, the wave, the photon, and heavy matter are simply different load stages of the exact same entity. At the far left, we have the space string in its ground state, minimal vibrational energy. It's the geometric zero, the pure hardware defining space's continuity. As branes, which are energy, step aboard these space strings, the bit turns on and the string switches to an excited state. This manifests as the various frequencies of the wave spectrum. As more branes join, it moves from wave to the maximum limit of a photon, and then continues toward matter.
So the difference between a radio wave and a particle of dust is just the number of energy branes loaded onto a string. And how does a string go from being a wave to becoming matter?
While we're in the wave spectrum, branes step aboard spontaneously. But to go beyond the photon limit and form matter, drastic external causes are needed. Think colossal pressures inside a star's core, or extreme energetic impacts in particle accelerators. These forces alter the natural state of the string and brane combination. The more branes condense into matter, the more empty hardware space is generated in the surrounding universe. The photon itself is a string loaded to its maximum spontaneous wave capacity. Energy slides from one string to another as a torsional oscillation at the maximum speed allowed by this modern ether, which is the speed of light.
You're saying the speed of light isn't just an arbitrary constant, then. What does this mean for our understanding of time?
This is a key conceptual turning point. Mainstream physics accepts the speed of light as a constant without fully explaining why that limit exists. In our model, the explanation is simple. Time isn't an abstract dimension. It's the relative sliding parameter that measures the kinematic progression of our brane as it moves through the bulk and slides through the lattice of space strings. If there's sliding motion, there's a measurable entity called time. Since the photon is the maximum spontaneous load a string can carry while maintaining its stretched shape, the speed of light represents the ultimate speed of transverse excitation along those strings. Exceeding it is kinematically impossible because the string saturates, distorts under excess energy, and collapses into heavy matter.
So pushing beyond the speed of light would literally force a wave to instantly transform into a solid body. And this also explains why gravity or velocity can slow down time. It's not some abstract space-time warp.
Precisely. The more branes loaded, the more geometric deformation the string undergoes. This deformation stretches the elastic element, slowing down the mechanical sliding of the brane to the next string. That's why gravity and velocity slow the passage of time. It's the geometric hardware, the residual deformation tensor, literally taking more time to process the passage of the next bit. We know experimentally that clocks on Earth and in cosmic space record time differently. On Earth, strings are affected by a higher density of branes, leading to a structural deformation that lengthens the geometric path. We can model this mathematically and run simulations to verify it against real data.
This redefinition feels like it could unlock solutions to some of quantum physics' most perplexing problems. The wave-particle duality in the double-slit experiment, for instance, where a photon seems to be both a wave and a particle simultaneously. How does CQC interpret that?
The absurd wave-particle duality disappears. When a single photon is fired towards two slits, it travels within the space string lattice, which is our hardware. The excited state moves, and its geometric perturbation propagates into the surrounding weave. The wave that passes through both slits and creates the interference pattern isn't the photon splitting in two, it's the geometric fabric of hardware space being tensioned and perturbed by the charge's passage. The difference between seeing a wave or a particle is instantaneous, a geometric and binary blink of an eye.
Could you elaborate on that binary blink of an eye?
You perceive the wave when the excited state slides freely in the lattice, propagating its vibration. You perceive the particle or mass at the exact instant it impacts a barrier or measuring instrument. That infinitesimal moment of impact abruptly stops the sliding. The energy load localizes, deforming the elastic structure of the target string. We can hypothesize that this forced stop loads an additional brane onto the string. At that precise moment, the photon wave receives that additional +1 bit, localizes, and instantly transforms into a photon particle.
That's a very mechanical explanation. It sounds like this would also offer a purely logical solution to Schrödinger's cat, stripping away the idea of a cat existing in a superposition of states until observed.
Absolutely. The cat and the vial mechanism belong to the macrocosm, which are clusters of billions of strings. When the atomic particle decays through the phase transition of a string, the geometric shock wave has already mechanically altered the surrounding strings. The cat is already either alive or dead. When we open the box to look, we send light photons that hit the system and bounce back to our eyes. The act of measuring isn't a miracle of the mind, it's the final mechanical impact in this chain, linking the system's hardware with our measuring instrument's hardware, stabilizing the geometry, and translating the binary information into our visible macrocosm.
So, even quantum entanglement, where particles seem to communicate instantly over vast distances, might lose its magical quality in this framework.
It does. Our string isn't a flat line, it's a geometric anchor extending into higher dimensions within the multidimensional bulk. When energy exceeds the critical tolerance density of our 4 dimensions, the string temporarily disconnects from the brane surface, allowing the photon or its binary information to transit through this extra-dimensional quantum limbo. This solves entanglement. In our 4 dimensions, we see 2 distinct, far-apart photons, but in the extra-dimensional bulk, those 2 photons are connected by a single elastic string, an extra-dimensional bridge. The distance between their anchor points on the brane drops to 0 when projected along the extra-dimensional axis in the bulk, meaning the change of state occurs instantaneously. There's no magical superluminal signal. Information flows through this geometric shortcut, where the macroscopic distance is 0.
And finally, if strings can accumulate energy up to the point of forming matter, what happens at the very end of this evolutionary line, with elements like uranium?
If we continue accumulating charges in the lattice beyond stable matter, it leads to absolute saturation in heavy radioactive elements. Uranium at a microscopic level is a colossal geometric cluster where billions of strings and branes are packed together. In this extreme configuration, the strings have exhausted all their multidimensional elasticity and structural tolerance to hold that surplus energy. Radioactive decay and nuclear fission are pure mechanical structural failure. Under an intolerable load, the string gives way, violently expelling excess branes as radiation to lighten itself, relieve elastic tension, and move backward along the evolutionary line toward a more stable geometric configuration.
It's compelling how cyclic quantum cosmology strips away the mysticism from these complex phenomena. By viewing the cosmos as a mechanical weave of hardware strings and software branes, you're suggesting a single kinematic and geometric law could govern every scale of reality.
That's exactly it. By altering bit density, defining time as sliding motion, and leveraging the higher dimensions of the geometric string, nature manufactures empty space, propagates waves, bends photons, determines the fate of the cat, connects distant points, and splits radioactive atoms. The universe is mechanical, elastic, and simple.
In future episodes, we'll delve deeper into how this binary code structure analyzes the particle zoo and the periodic table of elements. If you found this discussion thought-provoking, share it with someone who might also find it fascinating.